Happy Tuesday. 95 degrees. Oh, wow. I thought it was like hotter. It doesn't feel like 95. Anyway, nowadays here you can't even tell. It's always hot. But this I had recorded this earlier, but I kept cutting myself off, and I'm like, okay, should I wait till tonight? But if I wait till tonight, I'll forget everything that I want to say. Even though that happens anyway, but there's more chances of it happening if I wait till tonight. Right now that I just saw a car, like my neighbor's, let me just say that she's become from special to insufferable. She is insufferable. And everybody's starting to feel it. And everybody's sick and tired of it. And she doesn't know how to stop. Are you going to go, sir, or not? Because I'm waiting here. I'm waiting for this guy on the bike who is sweating his BALLS off to go. TMI, I know, but I'm coming to the park. I haven't been by here in a while. Is there people? There's cars. There's a lot of cars. I don't see any people. Huh. It's too hot to be out here walking right now. Although some people will do it. And they'll do it in a full tracksuit too. But anyhow, you know that cat that she was feeding? She fed that cat. She led that cat to come over and make a living area right there where we live. And then when the cat got pregnant the second time, the neighbor decided, oh no, I don't want this cat anymore. I'm gonna have to park on this side. Somebody's parked where I like to park. And long story short, she called animal control to come pick it up along with her kittens, which made me very angry and sad. And I know a lot of people keep telling me you shouldn't be sad because the cats are better off, they'll find a home. Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because the shelter that they take these cats to, they only give them a certain amount of time. They don't keep them there forever. That would be great, but anybody with common sense knows that these animals are not kept there forever and ever and ever until they find a home. Okay, it's not like that one Pit Bulls and Parolees show. No, they get rid of them. And by getting rid of them doesn't mean they take them to another shelter. So that's what makes me angry. And then I started thinking about how many animals are living out here as strays, and they're living their life. They're not bothering anybody. Whoever wants to feed them, they get fed. If you don't want to feed them, you don't feed them. But you don't call animal control and give them a death sentence, okay? You just don't do that. And not only did she do that, some of the kittens stayed behind. So she took them into her apartment and then had animal control there yesterday to pick up the rest. Like, this lady is just evil. She's evil to me. And I do not want to be friends with somebody like that. You know, she could have at least put them on Facebook or something and asked around at work, does anybody want a kitten? Does your child want a kitten? You know, she could have tried her best to get them adopted out, since she took on the responsibility of this cat from the very beginning. And she's the one that wanted me to take care of her dog. Like, she doesn't even take care of her own dog. The dog's always by itself. So, yeah, she's not a very responsible adult. Thank goodness she doesn't have any children. And that's all I'm going to say about her. I don't even want to talk about her anymore. She just makes me so mad. What I wanted to talk about was the Netflix Ed Gein. Gein? Yeah. Last week I was listening to a creator that goes by CLL, crime lines and lies. And she's like a commentary on a lot of true crime that's happening. She's been staying on top of a lot of other cases. And I enjoy her. I enjoy her content. I think she's a funny lady. I like her voice. She jokes around a lot. Her chat is very respectful as well. I don't see a lot of disagreements going on in her chat, and if they do, they talk about it, and it's nothing like blown up. It's nothing dramatic, you know. This is what I like about this creator. Her channel is not about the drama. She doesn't need drama to draw attention or to get more views or get more members or subscribers, you know. And I love channels like that. I don't like those channels that they have to have subscribers and they keep pushing it. Everybody like and sub, everybody like and sub. That makes me want to unsub. I hate that. You know, it's like if people like you, they will sub. If they don't like you, they won't sub. You don't have to remind them how they need to like and sub. That's how I feel about that. And anyhow, so she did a video last week about the trailer, and I was like, nope, I'm not gonna watch it. No. For some reason this year, I'm usually into Halloween every year. I've even said that Halloween is my favorite holiday. I'm starting to take a step back from it. Like, I don't know. After what happened with Charlie Kirk, it was a spiritual awakening. And I mean, if you ever want to see evil right before your eyes, I don't know how much more graphic it can get than that. And it just made me think twice about what I'm celebrating. So I tried my hardest. When I tell you I tried my hardest not to watch it, I did. But I finally caved in. Why? Because I'm human. I'm curious. I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm a Christian, but being a Christian doesn't mean perfection. It's something we have to walk out. So anyway, with that said, I did watch it. And let me tell you, this is a series. It's not even a movie, but the fact that it was broken down into 8 episodes was genius, because it went into more detail. There was more of a story of each character and how other characters came about. And it blew my mind, and it was a trip. I'm not gonna lie. The series, was a trip. I tried to compare it to the movie that I had watched back when I was a teen. There was an Ed Gein movie that was made, and it did start out on how the mom and the dad were abusive. I don't remember who hit him in the face with something, a stick, that he almost lost his eye, and that's why he had that, like, drooped eyelid on one of the eyes. They didn't cover that in the series. They did cover, though, how his mom was very controlling and very manipulative. They never showed her hitting him, because by this time he was already a grown man. That's the only thing that I have a complaint about, is that I wish they would have shown him as a child on what made him become this monster. Was it a chemical imbalance? Was it just that he was diagnosed with schizophrenia? Was there more to it? You know, was this monster made a monster by the parents? And I believe, in my opinion, that it was a combination of both. But I believe that mother had a lot more to do with it. And back then, even though they had asylums, insane asylums and everything, I don't think they were very educated in the area of schizophrenia and how that works. Or maybe, I don't know, they didn't have the right doctors in place just yet. I don't know. I don't know how they missed the mark on that back then. But upon watching this series, I was really blown away by it. I felt sad for he's not a character, for the, I'll just call him a character for now, but because of the actor that was playing the actual person, which is Ed Gein, I felt bad for him. I felt like he was lacking the correct guidance, the correct parental guidance. And I felt that his mother, she had some mental issues of her own. And she did not get help for her own mental issues. And then when you met this girl, I believe her name was Adeline, she did have mental issues as well. She was really morbid and dark, and she would encourage behaviors in him which was of no help to him. And it's like people were placed in his life to make him be who he was. There was no light, just dark. A whole bunch of darkness. And I started thinking, who in their right mind, like, who would actually do what he did? Like, I don't understand it. And I didn't understand why he wanted to embody his own mother. Yes, I get that he loved her so much that he wanted her with him all the time. But to the point to want to, like, wear her, be her, that's just confusing to me. That's just unheard of. And mind you, it wasn't even her that he dug up. And I know, trigger warning, by the way, it wasn't even her that he dug up. It was another body that he dug up to embody his mother. So that right there tells me, okay, he knows that's not really his mother, but he's pretending that it is. Why? Like, why didn't he get his own mother? They just showed a brief part about how he was trying to dig her up, but he couldn't. I'm not sure why. I didn't really pay attention to that detail, but, you know, apparently the mother spoke to him and said to dig up the one next door to her, and he did. However, I thought he was into, necrophilia? Is that the right way to say it? I thought he was into that, but it turns out that he said he did not do that. Although in the series it shows that he did. In the movie that I watched back then as a teenager, he did. But he claimed that he did not partake in that. If anything, he was diagnosed by the doctor that he was just some pathology, psychopathology, some term that he called it, where he really obsessed about sex, but in a way that was a little sicker. That to him, he got his gratification off of doing what he did to these, I don't want to get too graphic, but doing what he did to take apart these bodies, that satisfied him more than the actual act, if that makes any sense. It doesn't to me either, but there was something just so wrong with this guy. So wrong. And all that time, I thought he was given the death penalty, because like I said, this has been a teenager since I watched this movie. I thought he was given the death penalty, but no, he was placed in an asylum. And he was there for many years. And I was like, and nobody thought about studying him? Nobody thought about actually interviewing him and getting to the root of this problem? Like, what is causing all this? Because from him, so many other monsters were created. They heard of him, they read about him, and they wanted to be just like him. They idolized him. They would write him letters telling him how much they really loved him and how they wish they could meet him someday. And because of him, they went down the same path. And I'm like, you had all of these people from one person, and nobody took the time to actually research this person and find out what made him the way he was, for sure, and write it down and get that information out there. I will say this, not that I'm a fan, but with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is where the idea came from. And they showed the guy that came out with that idea, and he was just standing in line. He was buying I forgot what he was buying, that he happened to look over and he saw a chainsaw, and then he imagined himself going on a spree, I'll say, in the store, destroying everybody with this chainsaw. And then he got that idea, like, hey, people want more. They're bored with what they're already seeing. They want an actual monster, right? So he came up with this idea. And then he created Leatherface as well, right? And to me, that was brilliant. I mean, for someone that likes to write, I like to write a lot. However, I just don't sit and type it out anymore like I used to. But I do like to do that. And I have thought about a book about a serial killer. The only reason I haven't started it or ever started it, and it's been going on for years, okay? The only reason I haven't done it is because I feel like it's been done. So I'm trying to be careful on how I go about it. Because the last thing I want is for somebody else to say, oh, that's already been done. There's a movie about that already, that's or a book, and you're not coming out with anything new. You took somebody else's idea. I don't want to be accused of taking anybody's idea. But this guy who did this, wow, brilliant. Absolute brilliant, you know? And I wish I could do that. I really wish I could just stand somewhere and come up with a story like that and make a lot of money out of it. You know? And the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I'll even watch now is the one with Jessica Biel. You know? I won't watch the others. I won't even watch Leatherface. I do not like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. An old boyfriend of mine, when I was with him, got me the original movie because he knew that I was obsessed with horror movies. So he got me that movie, and we watched it together. Well, we ended up throwing it out because just from watching the movie, the original, we both had like a sick feeling in our stomachs, and I told him I didn't want it anymore. And he just said, yeah, you're right, and we threw it out. And I never watched it again. And I refuse to watch it again to this day. Just like I refuse to watch another movie that they show every Halloween. They gotta show it. I'm pretty sure you all know which one I'm talking about. You know? And they make it a point to show it every Halloween without fail. And sometimes they'll even throw it in the summer, or even Christmas for that matter. And it pisses me off. And yeah, I don't even like to say the name of that movie, but I'm sure you all know which one it is. And anyhow, I won't watch it. I will not. I refuse to watch it. But back to this series. Let me tell you what I was battling while I was watching it. I was battling feeling sorry for this guy as a Christian, and how he should be forgiven. And I was battling with my human side that was saying this person is sick. Why is he still alive? Why hasn't anybody, gotten rid of him yet? Like, how is he famous? Why are we making him famous? It was hard. It was very confusing for me. And I heard a pastor that I follow on YouTube. He said that God even forgave Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, that was a very shocking statement. That was a very bold, profound, shocking statement. I was like, no way. Like no, I didn't, no. But I did watch that series as well. I watched it when it first came out. And I did see that Jeffrey did give his life over to God. However, what about the consequences? Like in life, that's where I have a question, and maybe somebody can explain this to me. Because in life, as we're living life and we're following God and Jesus is our Savior, and we still make mistakes, we have to suffer consequences for those mistakes. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go fornicate right now and then ask for forgiveness right after. And God's going to be like, okay, you're forgiven. No, there could be a consequence with that. There could be with, I don't know, my husband finding out, me getting pregnant, or getting venereal disease. So there's going to be a consequence with everything, right? So I was thinking, guys like Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer, and all the other serial killers that we've heard of, even if they give their life over to God, how is it that they're forgiven from all of those deaths that they took? Their victims didn't go to them willingly. They were taken and slaughtered in the most horrific way and disposed of in the most horrific way, that I find it hard to believe that God would be like, okay, Jeffrey, you're forgiven. Welcome into heaven. I find that hard to believe. And I wish there was somebody that I could have this conversation with. I don't know of anybody that would. I would not want to call my pastor and ask him about this, because my pastor's probably going to be like, Moon, is there something going on in your mind? Are you planning on doing something? No, I'm curious, that's all, but I really wish I had a better explanation of that statement. He made it, and I wish he could explain that to me. I think I even did ask him on Instagram, but This was years back, and I've yet to get an answer for it. So I don't even know how to get an answer for it. Another thing, the last thing I'll say about the series, I keep wanting to call it a movie because it was almost like a movie. It's a series though. The part about Norman Bates, Anthony Perkins, I was really shocked about his past. I had no idea about his past. I had never heard of his past. And so what I usually do is I'll Google that character or that actor and find out more about them. Do you all know that he had 2 sons, and that one of the sons is the one that came out in Legally Blonde? Everybody's seen Legally Blonde. If you remember the scene where Elle is at the library, she can't reach a book that's way up high, and he's passing by, so he gets it for her and hands it to her. That's him. That's one of the sons. The other son looks just like him. And they're both very tall, just like Anthony Perkins was. But Anthony Perkins also had a past of homosexuality, which I did not know about. In real life, not his character, but in real life. There were other serial killers that were brought up in this series that I hadn't heard of, except for Anthony Perkins as in Norman Bates, but he wasn't. Anthony himself was not a serial killer. It was his character that was. But like, I think it was Ed Kemper. I want to say that name sounded familiar to me, but I hadn't really like heard about him. So he was a new one. There was another one that was like a transsexual that was in jail, and I had never heard of him at all either. They did mention Ted Bundy as well, even though Ed Gein had nothing to do with the capture of Ted Bundy, but they put him in as well, I guess because he was relatable to Ed Gein. And of course Leatherface that was in there, that was a character made up. I think that's about it that they mentioned. Yeah, but there were some shocking things in there that I was like, what? Wow, you know, and I start looking into them and I was like, whoa. So again, if you're curious, I highly recommend it, but I don't recommend that you watch it with your teens or anybody younger than a teen, you know. Watch it with your adult children if they want to watch it, but not younger children. It's not recommended for them at all. It's very graphic, very explicit, very gore, and it is just not for the younger eyes, let me tell you that much. But you will learn a lot from it as well. So I'm glad I got to finally have this conversation with you all calmly and not rushed as I usually am, where I forget things. And I want to thank you all for listening. I've had a really past couple of days that were just really heavy on me because, number one, that insufferable neighbor, and secondly, again, I've been trying to think of a nice way to tell my so-called friend at church that I no longer want to sit with her. And I don't want to say it like that, but I just feel like she hasn't been pouring anything good into me, and I feel very negative around her. And I started to feel like I didn't even want to start going to church anymore because of her. Even though I'm going for God, not her, not to see her. And we both agreed on that, by the way. And I'm thinking she's getting the same feeling as I am, because she was actually one to bring it up first. And I just didn't know how to jump in and say, like, yeah, you know. And then she mentioned, and I had my moment. She gave me the open window, because she mentioned one of her friends that's married, that goes with her husband, had asked her to sit with her, but that she had said no. And all I said was, well, you should. And she's like, well, I would have, but her husband's with her, and I feel weird sitting there. And I go, well, why? If she invited you to go sit with her, that means she doesn't feel weird about you sitting with her and her husband. You know, you should. But I also should have said, I don't want you to feel like you have to sit with me, because I'm used to sitting where I sit, and I don't like feeling distracted. I don't like feeling that I'm forcing anybody to sit with me, and vice versa. I don't want to feel like I'm forced to sit with anybody either. This is my only day to actually connect with God, even though we can connect with God every day. But this is like a special day. It's a Sunday, and I'm coming with more believers, and that's what I want to feed off of. I don't want to feed off of any negativity on how I feel or how you feel at the moment. I want to take what I just heard and go apply it. And I feel like I can't do that. I feel like I haven't been able to do that, because I just feel like she's always coming up with something, and I'm like, I'm confused. Like, I never asked you to sit with me to begin with. And believe you me, I won't be hurt if you decide to go sit with somebody else. I will not be hurt. I promise you. Like, if anything, it would be a relief for me. You just did me a huge favor, because I didn't have to bring it up. So I've been praying about that. I've been praying about how to let her know. And I'm like, should I text her or should I tell her in person? You know, because if I text her the way I texted her last time, she's going to say, oh, I never got it. But if I tell her in person, she can't deny anything, you know? And believe me, I don't want to cause any strife between both of us. I don't want to go to church feeling uncomfortable, like, oh no, I'm going to run into her. She's probably mad at me, type of thing. I just want to, like, clear the air, you know, and just go on with my life. And look forward to going to church instead of dreading going to church. Because this past Sunday, I was starting to dread it. And I was like, no, I'm not. Why am I dreading going to church? And then, you all, I started to feel like a disconnection with God. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, I don't understand. I was so connected to God before. Like, what is going on now? Why am I starting to, like, stray away? This is not like me. But it's amazing how some people can have an effect in your life in a negative way. Maybe it may not be intentional. You know what? I'm going to go get something. It may not be intentional, but it's being done regardless. And okay, is this light? Sorry, you all. Everybody's at a standstill, and I'm like, is this light not changing? I guess not. But it's almost as if, I hate to say this, but you've all heard of witches in the church. I was getting ready to end my video already, but I feel like I need to get this out. You've all heard of witches in the church. Now, I'm not calling her a witch, but I do feel like she's got a lot of negative on her that she's starting to try to pour off on me. And I feel like she's trying to discourage me from attending church. And I feel like she's getting very comfortable around me to the point where she's like wanting to know what's going on. Why don't you want to come? And why this? And why that? And why? And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you and I are not friends. You and I do not talk daily. We just meet up on Sundays. And I already feel weird about that. I do feel weird about that. I don't need a church buddy. I need a friend. And if all you want to be is a church buddy, no thank you. I'm good. But I started thinking, like, why does this lady want to know everything about me? Why is she always smiling when she talks to me and asks me why I feel the way I do? It's almost like she's okay with me feeling the way that I feel. Or she's okay that I'm sad or confused. And I'm getting this weird vibe from her lately that I'm just not very comfortable with. And lately that's been happening to me, where I've been getting weird vibes from certain people. And I'm like, what? Where is this coming from? Like, why am I feeling this way? So, yeah, that's why I'm like not wanting to associate with myself with her. And I think that's probably why her other friends no longer sit with her either. Her other friends that were sitting with us, they've been sitting elsewhere with their families. Okay, you all, that's all I'm going to say about that now. If any of you have any advice, please let me know. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye.